It is the Blue Room. It is your instant match reaction from Newcastle United 1, Everton 1. The Blues getting what could prove to be a very valuable point up in the northeast, a point that it looked like for a very long time that they weren't going to get. But Dominic Calvert-Lewin thankfully stepped up. Poor Dummett thankfully stuck one of our players in the headlock, and here we are. We're back with a point. It is 13 games without a win, which is disappointing, but some positives maybe to take away from the end of that. Joining me to go through it are Dave Downey and Warren Doyle. Dave just wanted to start on Dom really, and
Mm.
I'm sure we'll get into the performance and a large parts of it, which were pretty droll and direct and really dour today. But Calvert Lewin, I think first and foremost, took a lot of battle to step up and take that after 23 games without a goal. I don't think it was his best penalty, but the power sort of got it past the goalkeeper. But just happy for him, and if that means that he's going to feel better going into the end of the season, then that's only going to help us.
I think that's right, mate. I think that's an excellent way of putting it with him, to be honest with you, because there's all sorts of different layers you can go through about Calvert Lewin. And look, I'll hold my hands up. I've been a massive critic of his for quite some time now. Not given for how many games he's gone and how many months he's gone without scoring a goal for us, but I don't know. I think body language towards me has played a big part of that. The way in which he tries to get involved in the game without getting involved in potentially scoring a goal has been a big issue for me. But you're absolutely right. I think you need to give credit when it's due. He stepped up to take that penalty, and at the time when with it being Ashley Young that was flawed, I'd rather seen Ashley Young to take that penalty because he's been a penalty taker in his career. Ashley Young wouldn't have even bothered me if he was taking it. Um, I was absolutely shaking all over the place when it was Dom that picked up that ball and put it on the spot. I have to say, um, and I was sitting there next to my wife, and like she doesn't give any shit whatsoever about Everton or watching the game, and she's going, "Oh, is this an important one?" I was like, "Yeah, it's pretty big this." And she's going, "Why are you so nervous? Is the penalty? Yeah, they should score penalties, shouldn't he?" I was like, "Yeah, but not this fella." And yeah, I think you're right. I said to her, it's like just belt it, just put your foot through it. Anytime, any penalty, it might always be my opinion, hit it as hard as you can. He did so. Keeper gets a hand on it, but it's too powerful. Goes top corner. And also, I think when he came on, there seemed a little bit more of purpose about what he was doing. The ball obviously played to him, and Beto comes off. He's our one up there. He puts Shemiti on as well, which is interesting. Um, but the first thing I said when he came on was that why don't he just kick it out of play when you give him the ball because he's not going to do anything here. Lo and behold, it's that sort of ironic thing, isn't it, that happens when you sort of say those things. But I'm pleased for him there, Matt, and let's hope there because he's still going to be our regular striker for most of the remaining games. Let's hope that's something that kicks him on. Got a game coming up at Goodison now. Let's hope that's the thing that sort of puts him in a bit more positive stride.
Yeah, Warren, it's got to kick him on that, hasn't it? Because quite frankly, 23 games without a goal for a centre forward is staggering, regardless of the circumstances and regardless of how poor we are going forward. He's got to be walking into Finch Farm for his ice baths and massages and whatever they get, feeling a hell of a lot better about just his general football life.
Yeah, he really does, as Dave has just said, and as you've just said, really has to take this on now because he's going to be key. I think in terms of him himself, I agree with a lot of what Dave has said. I think after 6, 7 games when he hadn't scored, the questions started coming out, but a lot of us still backed him. And I think when you start getting into double figures and then into, the 20 odd games it turned out to be, I certainly was really questioning whether he was good enough anymore. And I have to say, I think we've had long discussions on the show about whether it's a lot to do with the style of play that we opt to adopt, or is it him? And I think it's probably somewhere in between. I think it's a little bit of both. But I think let's look at the positives from it. To step up, being a man out of form, it could have been very easy away from home with that crowd who were booing at every, and so late in the game as well. It could have been very easy for him to pass the buck there to someone like an Ashley Young or someone else who maybe fancied it. I actually sat there and saw and thought, give it to Andre Gomez because he'll pass it into the net
Uh,
for us.
Part of me was thinking, give it to Pickford. Is he ever going to get a
Yeah,
better chance
yeah.
to score at
Can I just
I
say,
Newcastle?
mean,
lads,
Like
I was made up
last
on that, and I
minute.
was already off the pitch by that point.
Yeah, do you know what? Imagine if they had to give it to Pickford though, and he missed. I mean, anyway, we don't have to consider that or think about that. But listen, credit where it's due. He come on. he did all right, I think, Tom, as well. I think he looked a bit more active, certainly, than he did Saturday. And then, yeah, to have the the bottle to take that penalty and just hit it. I think that's the key. Yeah, just when you're out of form, if you keeper pulls off a great save, which he almost did, by the way. But the relief when that went in, and as you say, Matt, looking at the other scores coming in, because it looked dreadful at half time, score wise and performance wise from our point of view. Seeing the other scores come in and then seeing that goal go in from Dom, that could prove a pivotal point come the end of the season.
Yeah, I mean, there are games still going on as we stand. Obviously, Forest won, which isn't ideal. What was the Burnley score? Do we know?
They were winning 1-0 last time. I
It was
knew,
definitely
mate.
1-1 at one point, I'm
I
sure.
know Forest definitely won, didn't he?
Burnley finished 1-1.
Burnley finished 1-1.
Oh, that's
Okay.
that. Do you know what? I was sitting there before and looked at it, and they were when we were getting beat 1-0 and they were winning. They were 4 points behind us,
Mm.
and I was like, these have thrown themselves into the mix right away. And then we've got another 6 points of them coming up.
Well, just another thing, Dave. Sorry, on a different result. Bournemouth beat Crystal Palace tonight as well, and that just keeps Crystal Palace in there. I
Yeah,
know they've had a
yeah,
couple of good results, but it just keeps them in and around
Mhm.
there for a
Mhm.
team who we could look to
Yeah,
possibly catch as well. So it's very tight down there.
yeah.
But I mean, just in general on the performance, then Dave, it wasn't good, was it? It'd be easy to sugarcoat to say they hung in and they dug in and they waited for the chance and they got the point. But there were large spells of that match where I was sort of pulling my hair out watching us hoof the ball forward. It didn't really seem like there's any kind of direction or plan about what we were doing from an attacking point of view. Our
Mhm.
goalkeeper keeps us in it, and we'll come on to speak about him a little bit later on. And funnily enough, Dyche does something that I don't think he's ever done in his Everton career so far, and that's make 3 subs after the goal that Newcastle scored that gets chalked off. And I don't know if there's any rhyme or reason to it, or there's any sort of great thinking about why he was going to do it, but it works. James Garner was better than Onana when he came on. Dom obviously gets the penalty, and it just sort of gave us something a little bit different, and we had a bit more purpose all of a sudden. Who would have thought it, eh?
Well, that's it. I mean, it's funny what you say there. He's just rolled the dice. I think they rolled the dice. Maybe that's the title of the pod, eh? Coming up with lines like that on a Tuesday night when I've had a couple of drinks.
I
There we
think
go.
we've had that one in the past,
Are
otherwise
we
I've
really?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely gutted. But the first thing I noticed as well when he put them subs on before 70 as well, which is I think that's a record for him, and making any sort of changes before at least 70 minutes in a game. Um, and look, let's be honest, they were desperately needed because we were the joke in that game. I thought we would if we'd have got beat 2 or 3-0, I would have thought that's probably level par for how we deserved and what we deserved when we went there. Which obviously makes getting the points all the more important and feel a little bit better, doesn't it, when you go and do that? The setup, I mean, it was the first time I've looked at Jared Branthwaite and thought he made a big mistake. The fella next to him, who's our captain, I think he was really, really poor tonight as well. I think that the pair of them would have faulted the goal that we conceded. Tarkovsky should score from 3 yards out as well and put us 1-0 up. And he seems to be going through the motions a little bit. But then I'm looking at midfield and I've said this a few times because I want to just sort of like defend myself in saying this because I think it's very easy to say what I'm about to say following the game. Andre Gomez should be starting in the midfield. And I've been saying that's pretty much since that's the game away at Spurs. Because first thing people say he's got no pace. Completely agree with that. He's got zero pace. He's like throwing me in midfield. He can't move. I reckon I'd be up there with him if I had a 100-meter race with him. But anyway, him being in there is quality. He's a quality midfielder. What we always said, Matt, what have I always said about you is the reason he ended up at Everton. He's at Everton because he can't run. But everything else he's got, that's why he was at Barcelona. That's why he's an international footballer. Putting him in there changes things up because the lad can keep hold of the ball and pass the ball to Everton players. There's not many others you can say that about, and I'm not exaggerating there. There's Onana. I mean, many people referencing how they got on against England, and a lot of people saying he's a world class player, Onana. I've no doubt that he's going to become one. With us, he's not going to get anywhere with that, by the way. And we're probably going to sell him early doors for as much as we can possibly get. But I thought that got a lot better when he put Gomez on. We looked like we had more purpose there. He's getting the ball. He's looking for a forward pass, not to lay it back off to a centre back. It does it just again. He was poor as well, but it was his first game back for a while, wasn't it? Really good having Mikalenko back. Massive problem with Godfrey again, right back there. And then how many times have we said it, Matt, about Dwight McNeil? Looks absolutely knackered. He looks like he could come on and just lie on a bed for the
That
amount of
counter
time
attack
he's
at the
received the
end,
ball.
Jesus Christ.
Oh, man, I was screaming. I'm just passed the ball to somebody. And he has that ridiculous effort that goes up into our fans in the corner. And do you know what? You get that feeling sometimes, don't you, where you scored an equaliser with like 10, 15 left and you think, you're going to go nick this. That happens so often in games. I was thinking, we'll get a corner in, someone will nod it in, or they'll score an own goal or whatever. But yeah, I mean, largely before then, any of that goal has saved a lot of people, a lot of our players in terms of what we'd be sat here talking about had we not got that equaliser late on.
Yeah, I think Gomez did change the game for me, Warren. I think obviously Garner gave us that bit of energy, which, Onana, it was quite strange actually. So a lot of people were furious when he got brought off online, but I thought he had a pretty poor game overall. I think he gave the ball away a lot for me.
Is that his fault though, Matt? Is that so much his fault?
Yeah, I think he was. I don't know. Are you taking the mick a bit there about what people have been saying about him? Like,
No, no, no. What I mean by that is, like, has he got actually anybody square to pass it to? He's got to try and find some initiative himself to try and find the
I
better
think I
pass,
think I think
and that's why he's
Gomez
not
did
doing
that
it.
when he came on, didn't he? Like he showed how you use the
Yeah,
ball properly, and in those. Listen, of course, the match is slowed down a bit by that point, and
yeah.
maybe he's got a bit more time to pick out the pass, and maybe Newcastle have had to make a couple of changes, and they're obviously a bit walking wounded at the moment. But I just thought Gomez was just used the ball a lot better, Warren,
Yeah.
when he came on and just managed to play with a bit more purpose and a bit more attacking intent, really, just playing it forward instead of just little passes sideways and backwards, which isn't what we're about at all, is it?
Dave makes a good point because it reminded me, Dave referenced it then at the Tottenham game away from home. I thought it was very similar to that when he come on. And Andre Gomez on his day can offer that. He's got that little bit of composure. He's got that little bit of guile and craft, which was so sorely missing at the moment. I think the thing with him starting games, I don't think we're going to get a run of games from him for obvious reasons, the injury records and fitness levels and those sorts of things. But if you can bring him on and the games like it was tonight, or, we're even drawing or winning, he'll keep hold of the ball for you. It's a shame that, we can't get a bit more out of him. And it's a shame that, I know people have had their indifferences about Gomez, but I think certainly this season, I think when he's come on, he's been effective. I have to say as well, leading on to about the subs, I was one of them who was furious when Onana got taken off, and Ashley Young still on there. Actually, I didn't think Ashley Young had the too bad a game actually, but for me, I'm in the camp of Onana's not got that much to do. And especially after that first half, he's not got that much in front of him to offer. There was a period in the first half, I think Beto was running onto it, and there was just no one running forward from midfield or wide areas. And he's doing the job he's being asked to do in Arna, and which is just sitting in that sort of quarterback role, if you like, get the ball and pass it. It was key, I think, as well. When he got subbed, he hardly acknowledged Dyche, which I think was quite telling. But, that'll be obviously a discussion for another day. But I have to say this, Matt, and I've been massively critical of the manager lately, but credit where credit's due. Them substitutions changed the game. And I think maybe there was a little bit of what have I got to lose here now by throwing some of these
Yeah.
players on as early as I
Spot on.
have.
Yeah.
But yeah, credit where it's due.
I
That
think
them subs changed the game.
I was just going to say, mate, I think like that the fact that they nearly scored sort of jolted him into life a bit, didn't it? Like I don't know if he would have gone quite as gung-ho with it if they hadn't just had a goal narrowly disallowed for offside. It felt like that was like, right, we've had our warning now. And part of me was thinking he's going to sit there and wait a bit longer. But like you said, credit where it's due, we acted straight away.
Yeah, and it was shocking first half. I mean, I just long for the day when we put 5 or 6 passes together. And I know, like, ironically, the Newcastle game early in the season when we had that 30 pass move, but we were 2-0 up at the time. I mean, consistently putting 5 or 6 passes together, especially in like a first half of a game. I long for that again because we just could not do a first half. I was screaming every time it went forward. We were playing percentage football. And it wouldn't, people say, oh, it never drops for us. But I think when you play that style of football, when it's, the percentages are against you anyway, when you're playing the way we are, I have got some sympathy, and I know there's going to be probably more of a discussion about where Dyche fits in and the future of Sean Dyche going forward with regards to Everton. But I have got some sympathy for him because he hasn't got much to change and to do and to bring on. But that starting 11 tonight, I looked at it and I thought, where's the craft? Where's the forward thinking? And it was proven right in that first half. No one running from midfield, and I don't know whether it's the style of play, I don't know whether it's energy levels, I don't know what it is, but again, the ball was going forward, and I'm crying out for one of the wingers to join in and get in the box. I'm crying out for someone running from deep and attacking the box from late, which we haven't had. I don't think we've had probably since Kale. And I was just
Yeah,
screaming out for that the whole game, Matt. And then I think the second half, especially when he brought on them subs, he went a little bit more attack minded, particularly with he brought on two players who were, if you pigeonhole them into a style, you're looking at Garner and you're looking at Gomez and thinking ball players who keep the ball, play it forwards, and he certainly did that. I thought James Garner did really well when he come on. I thought he was disgrace on Saturday against Bournemouth, but I think when he come on, I think he made an impact in the game. I thought that obviously we've referenced Gomez there. And actually, do you know what? For all the stick he's got, and I still think Coleman should win for him. I thought Ben Godfrey had a better game defensively tonight. I know, some may disagree with me on that. I know you've already said David is a problem for us, and I agree with that. But I thought he was better. And look, I mean, I know we're, obviously talking about the game tonight, but going forward, there's going to be some decisions to make about whether you start that team, maybe minus Chimiti on Saturday, or does he go with what he started tonight, or does he change it round again? I don't know what the answer to that is, but all I do know is, Matt, for 60 minutes there, I was really concerned and really worried and really ready to think, what is this team for going into the last 7, 8, 9 games? Luckily for them, and like I said, I've been a big critic, especially on Saturday. I thought they were awful on Saturday. And I thought just not awful in terms of effort, but just all I've mentioned a few times on the Blue Room about I don't feel players take responsibility at Everton at the minute. I don't think anyone's willing to put themselves on the line to score that goal that we need. And I think that's been one of the issues, obviously, our goal scoring this year. But credit where it's due. I thought the team that finished that game, they give it their all tonight, and they did put themselves on the line. And just one word, I'm sure you're going to want to talk about him. I thought Jordan Pickford was immense again tonight. I think that I was there a couple of years ago when we were 2-0 ahead at St James's and we lost 3-2, and he was part of the reason why we lost. He just lost his head. I think to go into that cauldron of that atmosphere where every time he touched the ball, he's getting booed and he's getting abuse and he's getting shouted. I thought he kept a very calm head, made some really decent saves. And particularly the one for him, I think it was Murphy, wasn't it, where it was down on his legs, but it was hit at quite close range.
The one really early on, I thought was his best one, from Barnes, where we weren't quite switched on, and he's just running through on goal, perfect angle for the forward on his right foot, just curl it in, and he just got a hand up to it really well. But I
just
think
stood up, and I thought, sorry, Matt, as you said, I just thought he was outstanding, really did.
No, I think it's probably a good time to talk about him, Dave, because it's I actually think the last few weeks, maybe a little bit before the international break, he's not quite been at his best. I think if you look at the game, obviously last week Coleman makes a big mistake, but I don't think Pickford helps him with the way in which he sort of makes the move. I think for the first goal, maybe he could come out and be a bit more decisive as well. Obviously, for England, he had a bit of a shocker, didn't he, in that game against Belgium, and there were just a few little moments before the break where I thought he's not quite at it, but actually, I think that's probably the best he's played all season tonight, just in terms of all round. Made some great saves. I think there were times in the first half when he was our most creative player as well, with his distribution out from the back forward to McNeil. I know he lashed the odd one into touch, but that's what he does, isn't it? Every now and then, because he tries to distribute it so quickly. But like Warren said, I think what you're seeing from him now is he had that meltdown, didn't he, a few years ago, and that sort of stayed with him, but he just seems so much more mature and so much more capable of dealing with that occasion now, which is obviously not a huge surprise given he's got older and he's got more experience. But he only really started giving their fans any grief. Was it like the very last kick of the game where they were singing "Sad Mac and Bastard" to him? But he's just a little reminder, I think, that to me that for whatever's going on, whenever we talk about players, he is still, for me, by a long way, our best player.
Yeah, it's interesting you saying that, what both you guys have mentioned there, because anytime we play Newcastle, I always use them as the barometer of the maturity that Pickford's got for obvious reasons of what you said there in terms of him having that where he started at Sunderland and there rather and whatnot. Excuse me. But yeah, I mean, if Everton stay up, he's a big reason why. And we've said that now. This is the third year we're going on to say that. He's pivotal. When it, do you know what? I actually see him now, and it's quite sad to say it, but I see him as somebody who's likely enough as anybody else on the front line on the outfield 10 to get an assist. Because anything that seems to be knocked up there in the first half, it was sort of a very simple get it up to Beto and get someone round him. That was the plan there. It wasn't rocket science to see. That was Dyche. As soon as we get the ball, play it long to Beto, who I thought was all right, to be fair to him. He was a hassle for them. He just doesn't have anybody around him to help him out. That's why I felt a little bit sorry for him. But with Jordan, no, yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head there. That each time he's gone there, as he's matured, not only age-wise, but in how he is as a goalkeeper, you could have easily seen that game being one that we've gone and lost because of him just being hot-headed, kicking off, got him giving away a penalty, something like that, because he wants to get involved in the game as much as he possibly wants to. Look, I can understand that. You see that happening in derbies, don't you, where people just lose their heads. Goalkeepers have lost their heads in the past, haven't they, in games like that. But I feel as well defensively when the opposition have corners, I think he's a massive help. He's a massive help because you see him not only coming out and screaming if he's had to save one to go off for a corner or whatnot. It actually feels like he's saying, like, come on, keep your heads together and things like that, which is, it's quite ironic compared to, like, we see the very opposite of our Tarkovsky going and saying it to him maybe a few years ago. And I think that is a real example of what he is and who he is for us right now. He's I still don't get that he gets the stick from our own fans as much as many England fans throw towards him, really. I don't understand where it comes from. I would have thought of our fans who aren't Evertonians would look at it and think, you know what, Pickford's even better than what we thought he was because he's one of the main reasons why Everton are staying in the Premier League. But yeah, I mean, it's distribution too, which has been heavily criticised over the years. I thought that was brilliant today as well. The first thing I always think of as well, whenever he gets the ball and tries to play a 40, 50-yard pass, all you never hear almost immediately a Newcastle fan just going, hey, and he's put it out for a throw-in and whatnot. I think I've seen that happen once. He was pivotal tonight. He was a big performance. He stood up, and I still think this quite often. He's been with us 8 years now. Jordan Pickford's been the England goalkeeper for just as long as that as well. I find it quite staggering that we've still got a goalkeeper of that quality that's still at Everton, who's been mostly involved with relegation fights and being in the bottom half of the Premier League, yet he's regarded as a top-class, even world-class goalkeeper, and we've still got him. I think it's very easy to look past that when you think that he's a big reason why we're still able to sort of keep our heads above water, given what's going on this season. Completely get your point with what he did against Bournemouth there, Matt. I think Coleman, obviously, to blame, but I think another goalkeeper has sprinted back to get his hands towards it before he even gets to Coleman. That's what got to me when I was watching it. What Coleman does is quite ridiculous, as you mentioned on the post-match, and rightly so, but you've got a goalkeeper there who can take charge of that situation anyway, plus the first goal. But today, magnificent, and big part of why we've got a point.
Yeah, it's interesting you say about the way in which he can shout and scream sometimes. Like, look, there were times tonight where I think if that was like a different game and a different opponent, then I feel like he would have got a bit more wound up because there were times where the shots were raining in, weren't they?
Yeah.
At us. And in the past, we've all seen him do that thing which he does where he charges out and gives the defenders a bollocking, which people are weirdly obsessed with outside of this Everton bubble. But it just felt like tonight, like there was a conscious effort there to just stay calm and not get carried away and not get emotional, because we've seen that with him, particularly in this game, if that emotion comes in a little bit, then it can quickly get out of control.
Yeah, spot on.
And I can lose the plot a little bit. So credit to whoever, whether it's just him or whether it's people at Everton who've just, I'm convinced it's a conscious effort just to try and stay calm. Obviously, when we beat them 3-0, at Goodison, he let the emotions come out then because we're 3-0 up and he's giving it loads. He's right
Yeah.
by the away fans, but I don't know. It just felt like tonight it was just like, right, whatever happens here, I'm just going to remain focused and remain. But he's been doing yoga or something.
Well, no, do you know he still had this one moment towards the end when I think they put a cross and he caught it, and he was looking up and he's like thinking, "Put it long here, try and get a winner," and then he just went down onto and just had the ball and he just started laughing, and I'm like, just don't do that, Jordan. But he still can't help himself for that one little moment, can he? And then at the end, he's obviously laughing his head off and going around. It was good to see as well. I think it looked like there were going to be a couple of scraps. When I ran upstairs, I didn't see that to the very end there, but it looked like there was going to be a bit of a kick-off at the end of the game. And Pickford's right there ahead of everybody. Just go back on that, by the way. Things that I don't mind seeing when we're in a position like we are. People actually fighting on the pitch. People actually scrapping for Everton. I think you got a lot of that randomly from Gomez. When there was a bit of a scrap going on with Dan Burn was in the middle of it because he's like 9 foot tall and kicking off. He was throwing Brantwaite around, by the way, on every single set piece they had. It was remarkable that we didn't get any free kicks when he's doing that. I know defenders and attackers sort of do push each other a little bit, but it just looked like he was dragging them all over the place and trying to. And when those things happened, when Newcastle got free kicks, you're seeing lads actually stand up, pump the chest out a little bit. Look, they might be very minor things that people refer to, but it's just, I don't know, it's a little bit more comforting to see people actually fighting for us there. Do you know what I mean? Because I don't think we've seen that a lot in despite the results. I don't think we've seen that a lot for quite some time.
Yeah, and just another little thing, Warren, Ashley Young going absolutely ballistic at the referee when he's headlocked in the box, and you can contrast that to Saturday, and Dom goes down, and everyone just kind of stood and did nothing. And like, you don't know if these things have an impact on whether they get reviewed by VAR or not, but if Young doesn't do anything or make a fuss there, it kind of feels like that game just carries on a little bit.
Yeah, and how ironic, by the way, that with headlocks are becoming a bit of a theme with Everton over the last year or two.
It's that time of year, isn't it?
Do you know what, though, Matt? Do you know what? Absolutely, I remember the time under Moyes, and I used to sit there and scream, "Why aren't our players getting in the face like they do with, like the way John Terry used to do?" Because surely it has some sort of impact, even if it's just psychological, a little doubt in the referee's mind. And you're absolutely right to see. I'm not going to go as far to say that, you play him or you start him for that reason, but to see Ashley Young do that, that's a bit of experience kicking in there, isn't it? That's a bit of psychological, if you want to say. But then again, he was dragged down, he was headlocked to the floor, and it was a penalty. I'd ask even the most optimistic Newcastle fan to disagree with that, because it was blatant. And I think, if that was done outside the box, then it's given us a free kick all day long. So it was nice to see that go in our favour. But yeah, no, I agree with Dave. I think that it just sets standards, doesn't it? I think if your captain or if your senior pros are doing certain things right, even if they're not going to get the ball and they're running in a certain way, or they're standing up to somebody, or they're saying something,
body language,
it just breeds a little bit of that through the squad. And it might only be minor things, but how many managers, coaches talk about the minor things or the marginal gains that get you through seasons, get you through games. And look, it's got us a point tonight, and who knows how big that point could be. So I agree with what Dave said. I think it was massive that Ashley Young did that, and certainly like to see us do it more. And Tarkowski does it a lot, and I think they try to do this thing, haven't they, where the captain always says something but not other players. But it's nice that we really shouted for that. And the commentary I was watching, they were saying, you can always tell by a player's reaction when he goes down and appears like that, there's something in it. And luckily for us, in the end, there was definitely something in it, because it was 100% Stonewall penalty for me.
Yeah, and just finally, want to get the last word to the Newcastle supporter who turned up in the dinosaur suit again tonight. Bless him. Pickford man of the match. I'm sure he'll be trudging home looking very, very foolish on the Newcastle mixture after that.
Can I just tell you what, mate, right? I tell you what, sorry, want to go on, mate.
No, I was just going to say, just before, I know we're running out of time, I just want to make one more point, if that's all right. I know how good Dave is, and yourself, Matt, at getting these post-matches out pretty much. I was still walking home on Saturday from the match, and it was on my phone already, the post-match. So I just wanted to add tonight that there'll be lads and girls going home on the coaches tonight who'll be sitting there, long journey home. and it'll pop up the notification on the phone if they subscribe and they listen to us. And they'll be listening to us on the way back. I just want to shout out to the Everton fans tonight, because a lot's been said about them since Saturday, about lots been made on social media about Everton fans, and certain things which I've stayed away from and I don't want to get into now. I'm sure none of us do, but this club's broken me this year, and they do the best to break me. And at 1-0 down, I was really fearing the worst, and at 2-1 on Saturday, I was fearing the worst. And it was key to me in about the 70th, 75th minute. Goodison Gang was getting sung loudly. Spirit of the Blues was getting sung loud. We Love You Everton was getting sung loud. That away end tonight, under probably a lot of pressure and probably what's been a horrible week for us, I thought they were outstanding. So if you're one of them who's listening to us on the way home on the coach tonight or in the car, thank you for tonight. I thought you were magnificent and you played your part in getting us our point tonight, 100%.
Got nothing to follow that with. I was just going to say, Newcastle fans must be absolutely gutted not going away with 3 points from that game.
Yeah, but yeah, couldn't agree more with what Warren said. I certainly couldn't have. I haven't got that in me to go up there and to make that kind of racket tonight. So
horrible trip home, isn't it? As well, that's a horrible ride home, particularly of the night.
Be a bit better now.
There'll still be some people coming down the steps of that away end as well. They'll still be coming down them steps now. So as I said, well done to all them fans in that away end tonight. You were outstanding.
There we go. Beautiful words from Warren Doyle to sign us off there. Some positives to go away from that game with, despite it being a slog at times. Made up for Don, made up for Pickford, and hopefully it gives the lads a bit of pep going into the game on Saturday against Burnley, which is obviously absolutely enormous, isn't it? We'll be building up to that towards the back end of the week with weekend preview. We'll also have subs weekly and a weekly show and your mailbag as usual. And then post-match on Saturday, which I believe Rob Veer is going to be joining us on. I'm not around this weekend, so Dave, you'll have the honours of doing that one. But yeah, it'd be great to have Rob. Hopefully he can break the curse and finally get us away and be back in the country. It'll be amazing.
If he can't beat Burnley at home, and I know that's going to be like absolute kiss of death, me saying that, but when Rob's over...
Don't say it then. Don't say it then.
Well, I know.
Just leave it there. Leave it there. I was going to say, leave it there.
Delete that from that. There's any other reason.
The Oscars music is playing over Dave here.
It's great that we've got Rob going over. I'll just leave it at that.
Amazing, yeah. But cheers to everyone who is listening. Like Warren said, cheers to everyone who was there tonight and back the lads. If you're listening to us on iTunes or Spotify or any other platform, do leave us a rating and a review and a comment. If you watch us on YouTube, do like, subscribe, let us know your thoughts on the game and anything else going on at the moment as well. But really appreciate everyone tuning in. Up the toffees. We'll catch you again soon.